Hello, first graders! We are going to be doing our three-part drill again today and learning the last way to make the sound. Are you ready? Okay, here we go. IR says ER says Y says y. E says and E. T says t. G says g. I says I and I. Z says z. X says x. E says and E. L says L. S says S. F says F. B says B. H says H. B says V. W says W. N says N. SH says sh. M says m. Z says z. TH says th and th. J says j. O says a and o. CK says k. PH says f. WH says w. R says SS says s. P says p. U says and U. C says k. QU says q. F says f. L says L. D says D. A says a and A. K says k. This brings us to our last one, the new one for this week, which is UR says Very good. All right, let's do part 2 of our drill with the blending board. Right, let's start blending these sounds together. So we'll say each sound and then we'll blend them together to make a word. You can do thumbs up if it's a real word, thumbs down if it's a nonsense word. Ready? Okay. Ol, a, lam. K, a, sh, kosh. Sh, sush. Sun. Hull. Val. Ved. Wed. Wep. Jeb. Zerb. Curb. Good job. All right, let's take a look at some UR words so we can see if they're usually in the middle or the UR is usually at the end, or can it be in both places. All right, so when we're talking about seeing UR together in a word, we know that it says just like ER and IR say when they're stuck together in a word. Now let's look at some words with UR in them and see if we can decide, is it usually at the middle, usually at the end, could it be either? Let's look. First word I want to look at is this word, burn, B-er-n, burn, okay? Burn has the UR in the middle. How about this one? Thursday. 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 This one has the UR in the middle. That's right here in the middle. How about this one? Hurt. Hurt. This one also has UR in the middle. This one, spur, This one has UR at the end. And last one, fur, fur. This one has UR at the end. Okay, so let's talk for a minute about when we use ER, IR, and UR, because we know that all three of these make the sound in a word, but it's hard to know which one to use, isn't it? Okay, so ER is the most common way to make the sound in a word. This is usually at the end of a word, but it can also be in the middle. So most common way, when you're spelling a word and you hear that sound and you don't know what it is, this is what you should guess first, especially if it's at the end of the word. Okay, the next one we learned was IR. This is the second most common way to make the sound in a word. This one is usually found in the middle of a word. It's not as common to see it at the end. So when you're sounding out a word and you hear that sound and it's in the middle, this would be a good guess as well. And the last one we just worked on this week is UR. This one is not as common to make the sound in a word. It's also usually found in the middle. It can be at the end, usually in the middle. So if you're sounding out a word and you hear the sound and you write IR first in the middle and it doesn't look right, try UR and see if that looks right. So one more time, the three ways to say in a word: ER, IR, and UR. Okay, UR and IR are usually in the middle, but they can be at the end. ER is usually at the end, but it can be in the middle. So most common, especially at the end of a word. These are kind of a toss-up. This one's more common than this one. It can be in the middle usually. It can be at the end also. All right, so for your assignment this week, I have attached a sheet for you to work on. It's going to have you practice sorting words based on ER, IR, and UR. When you're reading this week, my goal for you is to look for those words. Look for ER, IR, and UR and see if you can start figuring out, I usually see ER at the end, or I usually see IR in the middle. I want you to start noticing those patterns so that as you are writing words, or even if you're sounding out tricky words, you know that when you see those letters stuck together, it says automatically and it helps you out. Great work!